Ever scroll through job postings, like on LinkedIn or Indeed, and think, what's it really like to work there?
Yeah, totally.
Like, what's behind the curtain?
Right, exactly.
So today, we're doing just that. Pulling back the curtain on the Washington Post, one of the biggest names in news.
Big time.
We've got 2 Glassdoor reviews, and they are juicy,
Yeah.
both from former employees, both people of color, who left some, well, pretty eye-opening feedback.
Okay, let's hear it.
One was like, a creative leader, worked in the New York office, less than a year there, reviews from May, pretty recent. The other, a software engineer, DC-based, left back in 2022.
Interesting. Different roles, different locations.
Exactly, but both raising some similar concerns. So are these isolated cases, or is there something more systemic, maybe even cultural, going on at the Post?
Let's dive in and find out.
Let's do it. Now, what really struck me, and this is like front and center in both these reviews, is how they zero in on the experiences of, specifically, people of color at the Post.
Right.
This isn't just about, someone not liking the coffee in the break room.
Right. Not a free snack complaint.
No, this gets to the heart of workplace culture, diversity, inclusion, feeling valued, all of that.
You said it. And to have 2 different people, different roles, different timelines, saying similar things, that definitely makes you stop and think.
For sure, for sure. And the first review, I gotta say, it doesn't hold back. They actually use the word plantation to describe the environment.
Whoa!
Yeah. I mean, wow, that hits hard.
It does. I mean, that word evokes such a specific history of exploitation, systemic racism. It's incredibly loaded. And for this person to use it in the context of their workplace, it suggests, to me at least, that they felt trapped. Like they were in a system where their voice, their contributions weren't just ignored, but actively suppressed.
Yeah, I see that. It makes you wonder if there's a disconnect between, like, the Post's public image, right, this bastion of journalism, holding power to account, and the reality experienced by some employees, especially employees of color, behind the scenes.
Totally. It's that classic do as I say, not as I do scenario, potentially.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what's so unsettling, because the second review, it kind of echoes this feeling, this disconnect. They just straight up call out, and I'm quoting here, flagrant discrimination, saying that from their experience, people of color are always the first in line to be fired or laid off. Yeah. And there's this part that really got to me. They basically preemptively shut down any potential PR response from the Post.
What do you mean?
Like they wrote, don't even bother with a generic response. We value diversity, blah, blah, blah. I've seen it all before. That, to me, speaks volumes.
Absolutely. It's like they're so used to not being heard, to being dismissed, that they're already anticipating it, shutting down the conversation before it even starts.
Yeah.
And like that just reinforces this whole sense of not being valued, right? Like your experiences don't matter, your voice doesn't matter.
Right.
And then you layer on the broader context here. We're talking about the media industry, which, let's be honest, has historically struggled with representation.
Oh, yeah, big time.
Especially in those top leadership roles. So it makes you question, like, how are these power dynamics potentially playing out at the Post? Are those in charge? Are they truly committed to creating an inclusive and equitable workplace? Or is it just lip service,
Yeah, it's a good question. And, it's not even just about job security, right, which is obviously huge.
Yeah.
But this person also mentioned that, at least in their experience, feedback on their work. It always came from management first, before colleagues.
Really?
Yeah, which to me, that just seems like it could really stifle creativity and open communication.
Absolutely. Like imagine trying to be your most creative, your most innovative when you're constantly looking over your shoulder, wondering what your boss is going to think.
Exactly. It creates this environment of like fear and self-censorship,
Yeah.
which is like,
It's the opposite of what you want.
yes, exactly. Especially in a newsroom, a place that's supposed to thrive on diverse perspectives and, challenging the status quo.
Exactly. Challenging power. Speaking truth to power.
Right.
If you're worried about getting shut down or worse.
Exactly. And here's another thing that just like really stood out to me. The only positive things these reviewers mentioned were benefits, which, okay, the Post is a big name company.
Right.
You'd expect good benefits.
Sure.
And resi value, like the prestige of having the Washington Post on your resume.
Right. Which, let's be real, that opens doors.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. But not the work itself. Not the team, the culture, the mission, None of that.
It's like the prestige, the name recognition, it outweighed the actual day-to-day experience of working there, which, again, speaks volumes. And look, it's important to acknowledge that we're dealing with two reviews here.
Right, a very small sample size.
Exactly. Two perspectives out of, what, I'm sure hundreds of employees at the Post.
Right, for sure.
To get the full picture, we'd need more data points. We'd want to hear from current employees from different backgrounds, different departments.
See,
Walk to HR, get their take on things.
for sure. But even these two reviews, I think they raise some important questions, some really important questions about what it's like to work at the Washington Post, particularly for people of color.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think it goes beyond just the Washington Post, right?
Yeah.
These experiences, they spark a much bigger conversation about creating inclusive and equitable workplaces everywhere.
100%.
Yeah.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, here's something I want to leave you with. What would you ask the Washington Post, like, if you had the chance, based on these reviews?
Right.
And more importantly, how can we each, in our own workplaces, foster environments where everyone feels respected, heard, and truly valued for their contributions?
That's the real question, isn't it? It's on all of us to do better.
It really is.